then A minus BI, excuse me, not 1, is also a 0. So if they give you this, you have to realize that that is also a 0, the conjugate of it. If they give you this, you have to realize the conjugate of that is also a 0. Makes your life easier anyway when you're trying to finish the problem. Okay? So here, find a polynomial function with the given zeros. Now remember, a 0 can be written as a factor, right? So remember, a 0 can be written as a factor in this form. And you put whatever they gave you right there. Correct? Remember that? So I'm going to write these as factors. So the first thing you do is set up the factor. X minus, don't write too big. Just saying. X minus 4. There's this one, and it would look like this. Are you ready? You write X minus, and then you put parentheses, 1 plus the square root of 5. Close that parenthesis and close the big parenthesis. So that's another factor. And then I also have to include the what? The conjugate of that. So you would then say, okay, I also have x minus, parenthesis, 1 minus the square root of 5. Close that and close that. Now I got to kind of make that pretty. So here's what you do. You take these two and you regroup them. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Regroup. I'll leave that first one alone because it's okay. So I'm just going to write it over. X minus 4. Look at here. I'm going to regroup this. You see this positive square root of 5 and negative square root of 5? If I can make this so that I can multiply them together, it'll be a lot easier. So I'm going to write it like this. You see x minus 1 here and x minus 1 here? Ah, it's all multiply. So you actually end up with x minus 1. I'm going to group it like this, plus the square root of 5, and close that. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this one, and I'll show you why in a second. So I kind of just moved the parentheses, which is legitimate. I can do that. Still going to leave that one alone, and I'm going to FOIL. Because there's a binomial here and a binomial here, correct? I'm going to FOIL that. So let's look at what happens. First term times the first term. Oh, how can I write that? X minus 1 squared. So I'm still going to write x minus 4. And inside of here I'm going to say x minus 1 squared. Ha ha ha, wait a minute here. Isn't this just like this, except that's a plus and a minus? So that means I have no middle term, right? Then I just have to think about the square root of 5 times the square root of 5, which is what? 5. So this turns out to be minus 5. Woo! Should I let you absorb that a little bit, or did you figure that out? Got that? Okay. Absorb. Now, I also have to FOIL this inside here. Can you remember the special pattern for x minus 1 squared? Do you remember that at all? Okay, the first one stays the same. Yep, I hear you. So, x minus 1 squared, if I were to FOIL that, it's you square the first term. It's minus 2ab, right? Which should be minus 2x. And then you square the last term, and then you have minus 5. This part is that FOILed right here. And then I have the minus 5. I know, it's like gives you a headache, doesn't it? Yes. Combine. You're ahead of me. Yes.
So this is the homework, right?
Yes. Well, there's only 2 problems I'm giving you. And then there's a couple problems on the review. Excuse me?
Like when you collect the homework, would you...
It should be on that section. Okay, I combined. And then the last thing I have to do is multiply. No. So what I would do, and there's no room here, is I would set up a box. I would set up a 3 by 2 box and multiply them through. And when you do that, you get this answer right here. X cubed minus 6x squared plus 4x plus 16. That's your answer. If you want to see my very messy box, I can show it to you.
Oh, I love this yet.
Wait,
It's just, I just did a box right here.
God,
That's how I ended up with that. Okay? Yes?
Do we have to memorize like the A, B, or B, A?
No, you can just foil it on the side if you had to.
Wait, that stuff?
Oh, that? No, I don't think you will.
We don't
No.
have to memorize it?
Okay, let's do another one. So now we have 3 factors with an I. Shh. So what's special about I? When you multiply I times I, what do you have to remember?
I squared.
I squared, which equals -1. You have to remember that. Okay? So I'm going to set up my factors. X minus 0, not too big. X minus 2. X minus 4I. But there's another one, and what should it be?
X plus 4i.
Correct.
I did my notes.
Conjugates. You have to include the conjugates. Okay, so now I'm going to FOIL these two. Hey, what's x minus 0? Just x. And then I'm going to FOIL. So I have x squared. Wait a minute. They're exactly the same, except for the minus and the plus. So there's what? No middle term. What's 4 times 4? What's I times I? Which is, so this is going to be what? What?
Minus plus or minus?
What do you think it is?
X squared plus or minus.
Because it was -4 times 4, which is -16, and then I times I is -1, so it becomes a plus. Okay?
I don't care.
And then distribute.
I care, Kyle.
Hey, actually, you can take the square root of that.
Yeah, that's my job.
And then you multiply. So set up a box or foil, whatever you prefer.
God, I can't wait to do this as homework.
X to the 4th, -2x cubed, 16x squared, -32x. There's nothing to combine there. So you just write your answer out.
The other is not.
In standard form, of course. So there's your answer.
Can you read it?
And then let's just do one more and then I'll be done. So you should be getting pretty good at this by now. So here we have I and 2 minus 5i. So how many factors do I actually have? 4 factors. I have x minus I and its conjugate, x plus I. And then I have x minus 2 minus 5i and x plus 2 minus, 2 plus 5i.
Oh, you're supposed to write in that?
Yeah, so those are the 4 factors.
It should be x minus 2 plus 5.
Oh, sorry, you're right, it should be. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at this. Let's FOIL these.
Wait, you said plus or minus?
That's a minus. And regroup these. Just like we regrouped up here, okay? So if I FOIL this, I'm going to get x squared plus and minus, no middle term. So it's going to be minus a -1, which turns into, plus 1. Yes? I squared is negative 1, so therefore it becomes plus 1. All right, I'm going to regroup these now. I'm going to group x minus 2 together, minus 5i, and group x minus 2 together, plus 5i. And it just makes it easier to get rid of that I. So then you FOIL these. Kind of like what it was up above. It's almost the same thing. X minus 2 times x minus 2 would give me x minus 2 squared. It's the same term, it's sum and difference, so we have no middle term. And then we have 5 minus 5, or negative 5 times positive 5 is negative 25 times negative 1, which would be plus 25. And then we FOIL this out so we can combine the 25 in there. So I still am going to leave that first term the same. And I'm going to say it's x squared minus 4x plus 4 plus 25. Combine like terms. And then you got to do what? I would set up the box at this point. Or if you prefer FOIL, FOIL. So then you go around and you multiply all of those together. There's some combining. I did something wrong. This is a cubed here. It's a cubed. Okay, so let's write out what we have. We have x to the 4th minus 4x cubed. Combine those two. How many x squareds do we have? Minus 4x plus 29. Wasn't that the best time you've had in a long time?
Honestly, though,